Rafi Lisker, and now it's Ner Rishon on Sunday. What happened on Friday night around 6:15 p.m. After the davening and after tefillah and after people were already home, probably making kiddush and sitting down for the Shabbat meals. My wife and I, my wife Shoshi, of 25 years, we actually live down the road. What we do is we like to do a little stroll, a pre-kiddush, pre-Shabbos meal stroll. We actually went up. We were on our way back from what's known as Dekel Bet in Efrat. We passed the traffic circle from the area from where apparently the Mechabel, where the terrorists came from that area there where you see cars coming. Anyway, so we're on our way back, and approximately in this area right here, this is known as Shterot David HaMelech. I think this is number 60-something over here. We live in number 79. What happened was that I suddenly felt a boom on my back, on my neck, on my upper back. Didn't know what it was. I thought, as I told many reporters, I thought at first that it's maybe just, some friend from like years back that's just coming to give me, what they call in English, a katha, just a slap on the back. But my wife started to scream. Actually a few seconds earlier, she actually had suspected. She saw out of her peripheral vision, she saw a figure approaching, but there was no way of knowing that it was a terrorist. Apparently he was, he looked just maybe like a secular Israeli, and we have those in Efrat as well. It's a mixed, it's mostly a religious yeshuv, but there are quite a few young men that don't wear a kippah. And there was no way of knowing for sure that it was a terrorist until, he actually apparently stabbed me, what would turn out to be the first stabbing. My wife started screaming hysterically. At that moment, I knew for sure that it was a terrorist act. There was no doubt in my mind, but again, everything has just happened so fast. I mean, the way I'm describing it takes longer than it actually, as long as it takes to happen. We're talking about seconds. It's like the first boom to the neck, to the upper back, and then 1, 2, 3, 3 quick blows to pretty much the same area, slightly lower. I didn't realize that at the time, but apparently the reason it's important to mention this is that's apparently the tactic. And the reason I'm mentioning it is that if nothing else, I don't want people to walk around scared, but they should be aware that what they're trying to do, apparently, this is what the medical professionals explained to me, and I think also the police explained to me, is that what they're trying to do with the initial blow is to actually paralyze you on some level. That at the very least you should fall on your knees. And at that point, the 3 remaining blows, 1, 2, 3, tuck, 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 is basically to just rupture your lungs, and that's it. To basically kill you, obviously. But b'chazdei Hashem, there's no doubt in my mind that I merited divine protection, hashgacha pratit. I was wearing a winter jacket, which is fairly thick. That very well may have saved my life as well. My wife's yelling, clearly that was really key because, the first makkah, the first blow that I got, I honestly didn't know what was happening. It was only after my wife started yelling that I realized that we're talking about a terrorist attack. At that point, I just instinctively just pushed them with all my might. In retrospect, it's amazing that I'm still standing. Everybody, keeps asking me, did you fall? Did you, how is it that you were able to stand? I don't know, but I was standing. And not only was I able to stand, I was able to, to turn around, use whatever force I had to push him away from me. At that point, it's just him and me. My wife had, thankfully, she had escaped to the first house, as you can see on the Rehov here, on Shterot David HaMelech, Mishpachat Foyer. A lovely family. He's apparently the security officer of Shaarei Tzedek Hospital, where I was actually taken to after the paramedics dealt with me initially. Once I knew that she was safe, it's just the terrorist and I. Picture this. You're standing there. You know that you've just received. At that point, you know that you've received 4 stab wounds. I don't know how many, but I knew that it was quite a few stab wounds. I had no way of knowing how much blood I had lost. I felt fine. That's the truth. I felt like I had strength to, at least engage the terrorist, but I didn't want to take any chances. At that point, he's basically holding the knife, screaming, just shrieks, screaming, trying to scare me. Ah! My instinctive reaction is just to do the same thing, to get into a defense or even an attack position if necessary, to raise my arms and to do the same thing. I did not have my neshek with me. Everybody asks me why not. I'm not going to get into that. I think that in retrospect, if I had to do it again, I don't think I would have done anything differently because, as you can see, this is the main road. We're not talking about a security, bypass road or anything like that. This is the main drag, as you can clearly see. There's absolutely no reason for me to feel or for anyone to feel. Look at how many, this is only a fraction of the kids and the traffic that you see here on Friday night. A couple of hours later, as I mentioned to Hebrew reporters, or Tawus showed as well in Hebrew, a couple of hours later, this area right here with the park, is full of children, full of teenagers. But thankfully, Baruch Hashem, he chose the wrong person. It was just him and I. At that point I had to make make a very, very quick decision. I don't have a security background or anything like that. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but I did at least have my wits about me to realize that I had to make an instantaneous decision. Do I want to engage the terrorist to try to my very best to neutralize him, to try to remove the knife from him, or just to do what I think was the right thing to do? And what I ended up doing was just to, keep my distance, get into kind of like a boxing position, shmor merchak, as they say in Hebrew, and just make sure he doesn't approach me, and which is actually what I chose to do because, in the final analysis, it was just him and I. Had there been any other individual, my wife or anybody in the area that would have been in imminent danger, I'd like to believe there's no doubt in my mind that I would have chosen to engage him, try to the best of my ability at the very least to neutralize him. But because it was only him and I, in retrospect, I think I made the right decision. I just tried to keep my distance from him. He kept taking steps forward, step forward, step back. I did the same thing, kind of like a boxing match, for about 15, 20 seconds. At that point, I decided, to yell at the top of my lungs. I said, terrorist, 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 mechabel, 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 yatzilu, save me, save me, save me. At that point, he just ran off. He ran back into the direction of the vineyards. This is the northeast section of Efrat, which apparently is very, very vulnerable, very vulnerable to infiltrations. At least that's what I was informed. The Machat, the colonel of the region actually spoke last night. I was so busy myself, I didn't have an opportunity to go. But apparently my son, Yonatan, who's Baruch Hashem, Shibudel L'Chaim, he's an officer himself in Sanchanim, in the paratrooper units. He actually raised the question. He asked the Machat, yesterday straight out. He said, listen, he says, he's the last person that's going to criticize, the security forces, the armed forces of Israel. But it's actually known that that area is susceptible. It's vulnerable to infiltrations. I don't know what the colonel, how the colonel responded. I have no doubt that the security forces and the local municipality, that they're looking into it. That any lessons that have to be learned are going to be learned. I'd like to believe that. I'd like to believe that that measures will be taken to ensure the safety of all the residents of Efrat. There's absolutely no reason that I or anybody else should have to walk around in our own yishuv, concerned for our safety, to go to shul, to go to school, to go to friends. I just wanted to say one last thing. I said it in Hebrew. I want to say it in English. That no question that this was a miracle. This was a personal Hanukkah miracle. I'd like to believe it was also a communal Hanukkah miracle because there's no doubt in my mind that had I not been given divine protection to, at some level, stand up to this guy, he very well, had he succeeded even if in just, neutralizing me at all, even if not killing me, God forbid, but even just of neutralizing me to the point that I fell on the floor, that there's no doubt in my mind that he would have continued with, with his bloody massacre. No doubt in my mind. So, that should be, I just wanted to say that it's not just a personal miracle. I think it's a communal miracle. Baruch Shasani Nisim, and at that moment, what's going on in your mind is that as a father, I can tell you that as any parent can probably attest, is like you'll do anything to protect your kids. And what was going on in my mind, and more than anything else, at that very moment when I was standing face to face with the terrorist, was that you're not going to make my kids an orphan, not today. You're not going to make my wife a widow, and you're not going to make my kids an orphan. Not today. And b'chazdei Hashem, as you can see, I'm up and around, and I was able to have Shabbat lunch with my kids after I was able to be released from Shaarei Tzedek. I was able to light the first candle with my family, and we should have many more Hanukkahs together. Chag Urim Sameach to you, to Arush Sheva, and to all of Am Yisrael.